Evening all, and tonight's the 15th of December. This is the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. It sure is. Hi all and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show for another week. Getting close to Christmas, not the holidays, Christmas. And there's a lot going on. There's no question of that. Many are starting to see things pop up in the news, even in the mainstream media. They're trying their best to stem the tide. They will not succeed. Like the last song said, it's now or never. We're pretty much at that juncture. And things are going our way in many aspects. It's kind of sad that many can't see certain things. There's a sea of change that I keep talking about, and I'm going to keep repeating it because it's important it sticks. We all want validity, and we all want this, and we all want that. Sometimes it's right in front of us. There'll be portions of the show tonight that are quite heavy. I felt it was time to do it. There's things coming up in the next few weeks that are going to test us all, but we will come through it, and we will go on and thrive. The first song, The Truth is Marching On. The truth is it's not only picked itself up by the bootstraps this year, as forecast. The hidden will be revealed, the apocalypse. I mentioned on the last show, which I did, that was a fun show for those of you that listened to it. We had a good laugh on Open Your Mind Radio, and I mentioned on their show about I get like psychic messages. Generally, it used to be when I was a kid, on New Year's Eve. It may just be one word, it may be just one sentence. And I relayed that last year, which I've mentioned a few times this year. The apocalypse, reveal the hidden, and things would get confusing and very convoluted. I think we can all agree on that. Rest assured, it will get just as confusing and just as convoluted in a more denser space of time going forward. So I'll be covering some of that and some fairly heavy stuff. I don't know whether I'll start it in the first hour, maybe in the second hour. There's not a vast amount of intel tonight. There is some, not a vast amount, because things are kind of underground, but maybe things are not underground anymore. So we'll get into that. Anyway, for the benefit of the new listeners, this is the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show, and it's every Thursday evening. It goes on the YouTube and the Spreaker, so you can find it on there. I know there's many have been asking about it. Didn't realise that you'd left Cosmic Voice. I had a few emails this week asking for me to ask questions for Drake. But that's, believe it or not, that's 7 months ago today. That infamous day in May when myself and all the admins were unceremoniously booted. Some will say they did us a favour, others maybe not. Anyway, the foundation is closer to realisation than people think. I'm not going to say any more on it. I'm not giving dates. I do have them, but I'm not giving dates. I'm just saying to say it sooner than people think. So there will be announcements, there will be shows all about it, how to navigate the website. For those who want to go on and have a look at it, it's called thepeoplesclub.org, which is the website. And Michael from our Facebook page has done a fantastic job with that. and it's something to look forward to. I've noticed some of the proposals have come in, and as soon as the time's right, we'll be rolling some of them out, and so that's something to look forward to next year, early. So we're going to get into some news, and there's been a few snippets around the world. I'm going to add my own bits to it, but we've been mentioning about the oil and how the cabal, certainly the Nazi group, wanted to use oil as a form of asset currency, which has been prevented, and this is why there was an absolute glut of it, so they have more in assets to then roll out their currency, except it was never going to fly, and one day even the stupid will realise it's going to fail. Most of us are now seeing through it, but they still continue to play the fun and games, thinking they have an out. There is no out. So this week, OPEC and non-OPEC producers reached their first deal since 2001 to curtail oil output jointly and ease global glut. So that's an indication that the oil asset currency has now failed, and now they've got a whole heap of oil that they're struggling to store, and so now they're cutting back on it. So that's another victory for, in essence, we the people, because they thought they could keep pushing the prices up to $90, $100 a barrel, and certain people, some of them connected to this show, some of them not, have made sure that that never took place. So after more than 2 years of low prices that overstretched many budgets and has spared unrest in some countries, now with this deal finally being signed after almost a year of arguing within the organisation of the petroleum exporting countries, which also led to mistrust in the willingness of the non-OPEC countries, particularly Russia, to play ball. So the market focus will now switch to compliance with the agreement. That doesn't mean to say that the price will shoot up, because it won't. Like I've said, as far back as 18 months ago, oil will stay in a narrow band that prevents them using it against us. It will stifle and eventually stop the shale industry, which will then stop the fracking. But you must also bear in mind that OPEC has a long history of cheating on output quotas. So I've no doubt there'll be people who are watching that very closely. And the fact that Nigeria and Libya were exempt from the deal due to production tending civil strife will further put pressure on the OPEC leaders, Saudi Arabia, to shoulder the bulk of supply reductions. So that's again a win for we the people. Saudi Arabia, as many know by this show, are the link with the Bush group, aka also Clinton's, who then go on to fund wars for the Zionists in the country known as Israel. So the fact that the supply is being reduced, which means they'll have less to sell, which means their money availability will also reduce. So Russia, which 15 years ago failed to deliver on promises to cut in tandem with OPEC, is expected to perform real output reductions this time. But analysis question whether many other non-OPEC producers are attempting to present a natural decline in output as their contribution to the deal. In other words, they're just going to stop drilling. which may be a sign of things to come. Now, this is probably the funniest story. Well, it's not actually funny. It is, but it's irony, which has elements of humour. But the the Washington Post has now decided to report that the CIA has concluded something widely suspected but never flatly stated by the intelligence community, that Russia moved to deliberately help elect Donald Trump as President of the United States, not just to undermine the US political process, but in a more general term. The Washington Post went on this week and cites officials who say, I'd be interested to know who those officials were. As per usual, it remains undisclosed, who say they have identified individuals connected to the Russian government who gave WikiLeaks emails hacked from the DNC and top Hillary Clinton aide John Podesta. One official described the conclusion that this was intended to help Trump as the consensus view. It's funny that this is that was the story. This is my input. It's funny that these media never mentioned it until this particular show outed Trump's wife as a KGB agent, don't you think? You know, at the end of the day, it's about the ultimate height of irony that the USA Inc. is complaining of alleged interference in elections, given the USA Inc. and the MIC, Military Industrial Complex, along with City of London and the Vatican, have interfered in practically every other country's elections for many, many decades. And yet now, because they didn't win their one-horse race, they're blaming other countries. Like I said, it's the height of irony. If you don't like other people interfering in our elections, perhaps we shouldn't interfere in others. It's the people's will, not diabolical computer games. So, is it possible that that the Russians were interfering? It's possible. But is it also probable that Hillary and her camp were interfering with our elections big time? They're the things that they really need to look into. Look into your own house instead of looking at others. We have lots of house cleaning to do in this country. I'm glad to say it's underway. It is underway. So we can't go throwing mud at other countries when we've been predominantly involved in that since the middle 1800s, certainly from 1913 onwards. So further news on that. I'll stay on this one before I go on to that next one. Senior Republicans in Congress have said they will support further investigation of findings that Russian hackers meddled in the US election. Really? House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said any foreign intervention in the polls was unacceptable. Again, the height of irony, given we haven't had a proper election courtesy of foreign intervention, aka Britain, since 1871. Perhaps they should again look closer to home. President-elect Donald Trump has repeatedly poured scorn on the claims made by US intelligence. That's a misnomer for the start, but there we go. The CIA concluded on Friday that Russia's motive was to help Mr. Trump. Mr. McConnell and Mr. Ryan said their respective intelligence committees would investigate the allegations. If there is found any foreign breach of our cyber security measures, it will be regarded as disturbing and strongly condemn any such efforts. Senator McConnell told reporters that Russians are not our friends. Oh, they must have took the ball away and ran. And Mr. Ryan echoed those remarks but warned against exploiting the work of the intelligence community for partisan purposes. Now, that's pretty much covering the Russian thing, except there's another country this week who is preempting things because their elections are next year, the year of the unravelling. I'll explain that later. And this time it's Angela Merkel and the Germans saying that Russia's interfering with their up-and-coming elections. Have you realised what the link is? Same people. Might be two different countries, but still the same people. It's the Nazi groups complaining because they didn't get their way. They wanted the goose-stepping Nazi Hillary in there. And the Germans are going to, in my opinion, vote Nazis out. That means Merkel will go. And they know she will go. As the machines that were playing games here, as far as Tuesday morning of the election day, when the final ones are removed, are installed over there, they will be removed as well. So that explains some of the faction games. It's the Nazi groups that are complaining. Remember that. So the head of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, has now gone on trial in France this week over compensation awarded to Bernie Taupy, a well-connected businessman, back in 2008 when she was the finance minister. Subsequently, not a surprise, Miss Lagarde denies any wrongdoing, and also, not surprisingly, the IMF is holding their position and supporting her, but will back her through the judicial saga, but her position would become untenable if she is found guilty. Something to watch, I would say. Right, where are we going next? France again. There's a reason behind this. Armed thieves are on the run in France after stealing 70 kilograms, which is 154 pounds, of gold in a motorway heist on Monday. A gang of four swooped on security vans in two cars, using one to block the road's exit near the city of Lyon. The robbers then put the powdered gold, worth $1.6 million, into their getaway car, locking two security guards in the back of the van and setting fire to the other vehicle. The two guards thankfully were rescued after a tip-off from a witness. So what we're seeing now is this is the third incident in the past few weeks. There was another one in Qatar, and of course the Kardashian, whether that was staged or not, a lot of gold went missing. It's another example of the cabal, in my opinion, knowing who's got the gold and stealing it. Now, it's very unpleasant for the people involved, but the fact that they're stealing what in real terms is such small amounts, £154 of gold is a lot to us, but in their game it's a mere pittance. It's a sign of the desperation. They're just desperate to stay in the game. And if they're going down to what was basically now the local level, they haven't got much left. Doesn't take much to realise. They were stealing people on the street. Obviously they've run out of banks to steal from. Right, where are we next? Mr. Trump again. This was in a post-truth political sphere, it's almost impossible to find consensus. Of course, Trump won the Electoral College resoundingly, and Clinton, it's alleged, won the popular vote by a few million. I wish people would stop repeating that. It's programming. Remember, Clinton did not win the popular vote. The people did. The most popular vote was for nobody, 47.3%. Don't allow people to thrust a narrative in your face so it gets accepted like a meme. Clinton and Trump got 49% in total, and only 1.7% behind was the no vote. That is the most popular vote, not Clinton. So Trump's November 8th coalition, comprised as usual and diverse as an ideological coalition of the US has seen, nearly half of Clinton's voters thought Sanders should have been the Democratic nominee. Funny how they say that when someone loses. But basically here are the three things that Americans are agreeing on, and no matter which politics side they come on. Foreign governments should play no role in the outcome of American elections. Yes, it's only been 146 years since we've had our own. And counting. Maybe the next one won't be. No person should ascend to the presidency due to the interference of a hostile foreign government. That only applies when it's not Britain, it seems. It seems fine every other 4 years when Britain's the hostile government. But if Russia gets involved or somebody else, you can't have that. We have absolutely no idea whether a foreign government played a role in the outcome of the recent general election, and therefore we have no idea whether a political candidate is about to ascend to the presidency due to the interference of a hostile foreign government. Now, what I will say is I think we all agree with that. There's huge buckets of irony again in there. Between now and January the 20th, it's going to be difficult. There's no question of that. I don't think it will get too difficult for the people, particularly this group, the listeners to this show, because we have managed to get people a better understanding than most other shows. Not all, but most. The fun and games involving Trump and the fun and games involving Clinton will go on right up to January the 20th. Whether either survive is still up for grabs. There is elements on both sides that don't want either of them. There's elements on both sides that want one removed and one not. And the Clinton brigade, even though she's not here anymore, and I'm still sticking to that, it won't change. She's not here, but the camp operating shadow government, we've all heard those terms, still think they can push the Clinton candidate into the White House come January the 20th. they can think. But good luck with trying to succeed, because in my opinion it won't fly. There's too many now in the intelligence, too many in the Pentagon, there's too many inside the government who realise or have been told to quit playing the games, that we have to do something different this time, and we have real change. Whether that's Trump being pushed into doing things for the benefit of the people and not the benefit of corporations et al. Remains to be seen. I have to say some of Trump's candidates for the cabinet leaves much to be desired, in my opinion. Too many Goldman Sachs, too many with links to other countries, particularly Israel and particularly Russia. It doesn't augur too well currently, but if he thinks he's going to play cabal games, then I would suggest he think again. Where's the Native American people in the cabinet? Where's the non-bankers? Why do we have to have bankers or lawyers in politics? Why can't we have the people? After all, it's supposed to be for and by the people. Well, the best people to do that are the people, not bankers or military or lawyers. None of them are representative of the people. They're just there to run us into the ground. Trump himself has missed a big opportunity. A lot depends on how much under threat he is. But his selections don't augur too well, in my opinion. And if they don't fulfil what is required, they will be removed. But beware, Hillary and that camp is still playing games. They're also trying to turn back time. I may cover some of that later on. Recreate the loop. Okay, let's go back to 2012. There's been a lot of that going on. Because in the last loop, she was president. That's why they're trying to recreate the loop. In that loop, she would have become president. That's how you know the loop has ended. Right, where are we now? 25 to. This piece of news, most people will have missed this because, but I found it extraordinary. You think Nazism is only in Germany, Britain, and America? Wrong. This is New Delhi. The police in the southern city of Chennai on Sunday arrested a moviegoer accused of failing to stand during the playing of the national anthem, something which was made mandatory for all of the country's cinemas by a November ruling by India's Supreme Court. Police officers arrested the man, Mr. Vijay, on suspicion of assault and violating the Prevention of Insults to National Honour Act of 1971. Mr. Vijay was released on bail. If found to have violated the act, he could face a fine and imprisonment of up to 3 years. That is fascism in all its glory, making people stand up. Same when you go to court, telling you have to stand up because some guy in a dress is coming to judge the proceedings. Really, who put them as the authority? Must stand up or bow to the Pope. We don't bow to nobody. When you remember who you are, you bow and give no power to anybody else. National anthem indeed. This is another example of the minor takedown. I expect that you'll see more stories like this going forward. We have been seeing a lot more. But the Justice Department this week has accused 2 executives of colluding with other generic pharmaceutical companies to fix prices. The first criminal charges stemming from a sweeping 2-year investigation. Jeffrey Glazier, a former chief executive of Heritage Pharmaceuticals Inc., and Jason Malek, an ex-president, were charged in Philadelphia, according to court filings unsealed on Wednesday. Each were charged in a criminal information with 2 counts of conspiring with other drug makers to fix the prices of an antibiotic and a drug used to treat diabetes. Glazer and Malek intend to plead guilty and are cooperating with authorities, according to people with the knowledge of the matter. A plea hearing is scheduled for January the 9th. Watch, you will see more of them, of those type, and not just in the pharmaceutical either. Wall Street, don't we all love them? No, like a hole in the head. Wall Street banks announced today that they are about 70 billion short in building up funds the Federal Reserve says they'll need to tap following a collapse. Federal Reserve's already collapsed, so I don't know why they're talking to anybody, but there you go. Which is down by almost a half from the central bank's earlier estimates. The 8 biggest US financial firms are required to build cushions of long-term debt that can be transformed into equity in a new company if the old one fails. Really. So the debt becomes an asset. Collapse the old one, set up a new one with the debt, turn it into an asset, create a new company. Wish ordinary folk could do things that easy. According to a rule the federal governors approved on Thursday, stockpiles of capital will also be used to meet the new standard known as Total Loss Absorbing Capacity, or TLAC, which is a vital component of the plan to make giant banks easier to unwind without taxpayer bailouts. In October of 2015, the Fed estimated banks had a total shortfall of 120 billion. I think that's a ridiculously low market, to be quite honest, but there you go. This requirement means taxpayers will be better protected because the largest banks will be required to pre-fund the costs of their own failure. Wouldn't that be nice? Only problem is now that they've signed into law, if they go under, so do all the people with the accounts, and that becomes their bailout. January the 1st last year, that was written into law. Federal Chairman Janet Yellen said about the rule which aims to prevent a repeat of the 2008 financial sector disaster by making sure the biggest firms can absorb more losses, even after failing. She called it one of the last critical safeguards put in place since the crisis. Really, just taking them 8 years to do it. But there you go. That's the way the government rolls, unless they want new taxes. They come out next week. But they take 8 years to fix things. The Federal Reserve estimates 4 banks, without identifying, I think we all know who those 4 are, need about 70 billion more in qualifying unsecured debt and capital by January the 1st, 2019 deadline. So they're giving them another, just over 2 years now. Just wish they were that flexible when they're demanding late payments. But like I said, that's the way it rolls. This is a good story, and it's to do with Standing Rock. And we've called for things like this before, but sometimes it takes someone who's more known or more famous to activate it. It's the way we've all been programmed. If someone who's on the TV says it, that carries more validity than someone who's just on the internet radio. Shouldn't be that way, but it is. But a few weeks ago, actress and activist Susan Sarandon made headlines when she asked for supporters of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, who are protesting the 4-state Dakota Access Pipeline, to pull their money out of the banks which are invested in its development. The water protectors, who have been camped out near Cannonball, North Dakota since April, argue that the controversial pipeline will uproot sacred burial ground and potentially contaminate the Missouri River. In addition, they maintain that the land is rightfully theirs due to an 1851 treaty which was never revoked. Following the call to action by Susan Sarandon, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of activists started to pull their money from the 17 big banks which are invested in the pipeline, and shared footage of themselves doing so on social media. That's how you use social media against themselves. That's it in its finest form. Critics have said that the act would do nothing to propel change, but how wrong they were. That's always the big doubt. Well, that won't change anything. Well, if you keep thinking that, then it won't. If we all keep thinking it will, it will. Well, how wrong they were. Yesterday, Seattle City Council member Mr. Sawant introduced legislation urging the Mayor, Ed Murray, to cut ties with Wells Fargo due to its investment in the DAPL. The City of Seattle plans to remove $3 billion from Wells Fargo to protest the atrocities which have taken place at Standing Rock. Like I keep saying, people power. We have the power, not them. There are many, many ways which we can end their fun and games and control, if only we put a little bit of imagination, thought and energy into it. Doesn't take guns, doesn't take a lot, it just takes use your imagination. It's all there in front of us. Foundation being one example. We coalesce a large number of people together, all working for the same cause, service to others. If that gets rolled out across the country, and we get a mixture of people, black, white, red, Hispanic, male, female, straight, gay, all pulling in the same direction, all looking after each other, they can't do nothing. They never could. It's just the illusion. And I'll be talking a lot about illusion after the music break. It will be fairly heavy, but you'll start to realise why I've done it. over time, this show has kind of been almost like an education course, where I've put little bits in here and there and allowed you to absorb, process it, and then go deeper. Well, we're going to go a bit deeper in the second hour with a range of things. But before that, we're going to get into some intel. Now, the only bits I can report is early this morning, attacks were launched on a number of underground bases. This was mainly due to the white-winged Royal Draco playing fun and games with computers and AI again. It's still to be determined of where they came from. Some pointers have been made, so it suggests that they are from within the system and not a break-in from out, which would cause alarm. But the mountain/caves this morning were attacked in China, the Philippines and California. Yes, that infamous or famous mountain. People realise some of the beings that's under Mount Shasta, I don't think they'd be revering it too much going forward, but there you go. Further attacks took place early this morning under the Vatican. So I've touched on some of the fun and games that goes on under the Vatican. What you see on the top level, if you look closely enough, you'll see a lot of symbology. The altar inside the Vatican tells you who they worship, and some of them beings are located up to 10 floors down beneath the Vatican, below the library, shall we say, most of which was taken from the Alexandria Library. Not all those books were burnt. A lot of the important history of this earth is located in those vaults. One day they will be released. Meanwhile, we have to get rid of the satanic element that's driving the Vatican Church. They're not, they are part of it. Most people will not like that idea. They have been part of it all along. That doesn't mean to say all in the Catholic Church are bad. Like everything else, there's people who join the Freemasons. I think it's a nice men's group where you can have a few drinks with a few lads without realising what happens at the top end. But those at the top end all know what goes on below, who's there, who was held hostage there for many thousands of years. That was released last year. One of the known angels in particular, where they will loosen the energy. Well, of course, this show mentioned recently about emptying the gold and the treasures that were under the Vatican, much to the chagrin of the black nobility at all. They never thought anyone could remove that. But we did. In Hong Kong was also attacked this morning. I've not got details on what took place there, but I suspect It may have something to do with certain printing machines that were reported on this show, printing fake money out of Hong Kong, which was then going to be requested for validation numbers from the various governments, and all 209 governments are refusing to do so. Now, the final attack, this has been mentioned quite a lot recently, and I've played it down because it's being used as a distraction. But the final attack was on a base in Antarctica. All missions were highly successful. There was fairly heavy explosions in at least one of those. And the entities are no longer a problem. Doesn't mean to say they're all gone, but their numbers are dwindling rapidly now, and this is what we've said consistently over this past few months. Bit by bit, they're going to be taken out. In the first quarter of next year, I don't expect there to be any left. The unravelling. Where are we? So, I'm going to leave the next bit for the second hour. Well, I'm going to explain the unravelling and why I think that word came to me. We've had the reveal the hidden, which was the apocalypse. Now, what was hidden was basically an onion, to use an analogy. Most people don't realise that the onion exists, except what has been revealed this year is actually it does. It's not an illusion, it's not a conspiracy, it's not fake news. The onion does exist. Now, what will take place next year is the onion, layer by layer, will be unravelled. As each layer gets peeled back, the truth will come forward. I would suggest you all get ready, because it's going to be rather difficult. I've seen many people who are struggling a bit, desperate for information, desperate for knowledge, desperate for the truth. The truth is always within. Do you get more on this show? Some people think so, and some people don't. We have nearer the truth than most because of where it comes from. Much of it has been validated. We spend a lot of time counteracting the fear porn on this show. Rest assured that will increase. Rest assured it will also get shut down. One by one, the clowns in the alternative media, purporting to be on behalf of humanity, are being exposed. Reveal the hidden. There's many of them being exposed this year, not just on this show either. Between now and the end of this year, we have 17 days left, including the remnants of this one. The important thing is the self. And that's something that's not usual for me to say. I always talk about the all. But it's important you address the self. What is ultra important is you stay calm. We're going to get tested. The frequencies are testing some are having difficulty absorbing them. You won't absorb better frequencies by being scattered, your mind racing away. You really need to come into an inner calm to be ready. Once you obtain that state and you hold it, they can't play games with you. They want the people with the heightened excitement or heightened depression. They don't like people who operate in a calm manner, because they can't loosh. They're already desperate. Seen by some of the stories today. They're robbing people on the street because they've got gold. That's desperation. We have 16 and a bit days to survive the end of their game. 2016, they thought they could loop back to 2012. In 17 days' time, that particular plan will fail. And then we can celebrate as people of the world. I'll be back shortly. Hi all, and welcome back to the second hour. So we've kind of covered a few things. I'm going to go into a bit more now. The latest fun and games on the internet, which everyone's now familiar with, the term fake news. Don't fall for it. Is yet again, it's a sign of their desperation. They know the real news is coming forward, and it's coming forward in its droves. So now they've seeded the unawakened with the meme fake news. This is how the programming works. Like they seeded the population, courtesy of a certain three-letter agency, with conspiracy theorist or conspiracy nut. This is their latest game, so that any news of validity is repeated. Fake news, fake news, fake news, like the little robots they are. Don't fall for it. We're seeing lots of so-called conspiracy, what was deemed in the conspiracy realm, and largely contained within the alternative media, is now being thrust into the mainstream media. Lots of it this year, perhaps too much in some aspects, to give you time to process it and absorb it and take it all in and go, oh wow, this is where we're going. The idea of Clinton being exposed the way she has this year, even if you go back 12 months, it would have been, we've all been jumping through hoops. Now we just seem to accept it as the norm. We should still jump through hoops, because it's a validation of the truth that we've all been saying. Now, many of us require validity. Who are your sources, and where are you getting this from, and where are you getting that from? And then there's people who have their own truth and are requiring validity from others. What you have to understand is that is imposing limitation on yourself. We all do it. I'm a certain type of personality, or I'm a certain this, or I'm a certain that. They're all self-imposed limitations on yourself. Don't put yourself in boxes. They've done a rather good job of doing that to us anyway. Now, we have to realise who and what we are. We're not a vessel. We never were. This is the end result of millennia of interference, millennia of our ancestry being stupid, playing the game. But this whole planet is one giant game where the rules get changed and impose more and more limitations on us. But we don't have to play their game. We never did. We just think we did. Once you realise who and what you are, nobody plays games of this nature. It's the most heinous thing that's ever took place in creation, bar none. And it wasn't all imposed by Draco, or mantids, or greys, small, medium, or the large ones. A lot of it was self-imposed. We didn't need that type of stimulus. And we set a rolling motion of descent. What we're trying to get back gradually now is the ascent. And that doesn't mean to say we're going to 4D before people start pulling that new age crap. The ascent is from within. You're not going anywhere. Is there another Earth if this one went wrong? Yes. Because it was created. Who created it? We did. All of us. Not gods or this or that. No. Our own consciousness creates something else. Always did. We've just forgotten. Now the power of manifest has been eroded, where it becomes almost impossible. But that doesn't mean to say, because it's almost, doesn't mean to say you have to discount it. Possibilities, even if it's slim, should always be explored, because you don't know where it leads to. I mentioned on a previous show I wanted a chance to get American people working again and supporting each other again and out of debt, and get involved in a load of projects that's going to make the American people live a better life. 2 weeks later it arrived. And people are going, oh wow, that was lucky. No, it's not luck. It's what was created. And we've forgotten we're all creators. So when things take place, and not enough good things take place, it's because we've forgotten the ability to do so. That's all. Self-imposed limitations. Why do we need creams to fix us when the soul can fix everything? Soul doesn't know injury. Soul doesn't know disease. Only the vessel does, because we created it. Simply because we forgot. Now the problem we have on this planet now, and this may alarm some, I can't say I can throw me hat on it, it's 100% correct. It's just an opinion. But the reality of this planet is there may only be 10 to 12% human beings. The rest are portrayed as human beings, but are actually synthetics. Not real. Two worlds living simultaneously side by side, like I started off a couple of weeks ago. Those people are not in reality. So why are we wasting energy? And we've all done it, myself included. Why are we wasting energy on synthetics? Let's use our energy for the 10-12% who are actually real. They're just distractions who choose to vote for the next slave master. We don't have to play their game. We'll create our own game on an organic, natural law, not their synthetic world. Why do you think they've been changing frequencies? The TV, digital, transhumanist, plastic, robots, synthetics. It's all there in the timeline. That doesn't mean to say that we have to go along with it. Remember who you are. So these entities are going to be testing us because they have to. That's their role. Doesn't mean to say things will get ugly. I think most of the real ugliness has already been shown. It can't get any worse, and it's only likely to get a lot better. It won't happen overnight. There's too many things to do, fix, remove, introduce. But if we all start thinking in a better manner and not in limitation. Oh, I never have any luck, me. Really? You've just asked for bad luck. You've just self-imposed your own limitation. I'm always sick. I'm never well. Really? Get out of that state of mind of thinking I'm always sick. No, I'm always well. Disease and bacteria and viruses thrive in a low vibration state. If we're resonating at a higher state, it can't exist. It's one of the biggest things, crimes they've done to people in this country. It just alarms me the amount of creams, ointments, drugs, pills, injectors Americans impose on themselves because you've forgotten you can fix yourself. I got told 7 years ago I had an accident with a bench saw that kind of ground away a couple of my fingers on my left hand, and they were going to cut it off to the top knuckle. I said, no, you're not. And he go, well, it's no use. Really? It'll grow back. Now, one of the nails doesn't look too healthy, but it's still there. Both fingers are fully usable. Doesn't limit me. The only thing is I can't pick my nose with it. But the nail that was split in two is now growing and forcing from the underneath, is forcing what was split in two into one nail again, which they said was not possible. Really? It's the power of the way you think. We impose far too many limitations on ourselves. We have to stop doing that. The limitations pushes you into the game deeper. The role is not to play the game. It's like the Hunger Games. I mentioned that recently. Why did all the villagers all pushed forward to people because they were told to. Again, it's fear and limitation. We could have just told them, we're not playing your game. If you want Hunger Games, you put your people in and watch them kill each other. Because we're not putting our people in. The power of the people always holds all the cards, always has done. Like again, we've just forgotten. We've gone down the fear mode. Switch fear for love. Changes everything. So, another couple of things I want to touch on before I go into questions. Many people are having buzzing ears and buzzing heads and tingling, disturbed sleep. This is to be expected. The buzzing ears, for those familiar, sometimes are downloads from your higher self. Listen. Don't dismiss it. Listen. Go in a quiet place and listen. You may not get words. Some people may get pictures. Some people may get words. Some people may get nothing, and then you dismiss it. That's setting limitation again. There is words and sounds going into your ears every second of the day. Everything that everyone ever said is going into your ears. It's how you process it. If you're going to impose limitations and go, oh, I don't believe in that, it'll just buzz all day. Like ringing a bell when no one's home. Try and go into a calm space. Now, the other thing I mentioned on the Irish show, as it plays into this, is people are struggling, their mind is scattered, loads of chatter in the head. This is the reptilian part of your brain doing that. Learn to stop it. This is why meditation works. What does meditation achieve? It shuts the mind chatter down. And then you see and experience and hear things properly. It's telling you there and then that the mind is the issue. You have just as many neurons in the heart. You don't need the mind. You operate and hear and feel, more importantly, from the heart, not from the gut. Yet another meme they push forward. Oh, the gut feeling. That's where the implants are. So you're not rising up the chakras. And then there's blocking of the mind and blocking of the gut. No access to the heart. Unblock both of them. Just beyond the mind is the crown. Then you hear the real vibrations. And the streams of golden light once it's cleared. Not violet. Another New Age misnomer. Golden beam going through the crown. These you will all experience yourselves. You don't need me to tell you. Some of you may have already experienced it. But don't be looking for the violet light. The golden light. It's like a concentrated beam. Some of it's like a pencil, and some of it's a lot wider, depending on the individual. Doesn't make that individual any better, just different. So I hope that helps you. Stay out of the gut feelings, please, and please learn to shut the mind down. You know, I need to find this out, I need to find this out, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. It's the mind chatter, and it comes from the reptilian cortex part. Go and meditate. Shut it down. Once you've meditated sufficient and retained the memory of the senses and the feelings of the meditation, it doesn't require you to go and put music on or go in a quiet space. You can do it automatically. Soul memory. So then you don't have to wait till all the kids have gone to bed, or the wife's gone to bed, or whatever. Or you have to go and sit in the middle of the woods. Once you get yourself into that state where the mind's completely shut down, you then start seeing the pictures, or the video, or the clear words, not the chatter. With practice, you're able to retain, in essence, box it up, so then it doesn't require the binaural beats or the solfeggio or some very soft music. It retains it, memory. So then you can go into that automatically from a waking state with your eyes open. You don't even have to shut your eyes. Something you can all try. I would suggest you double, treble, quadruple it over the next 17 to 37 days. It will enable you to be in a calmer state, whilst the carnage they will create doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be disaster and martial law and all this. They're going to create chaos, or try to. That doesn't mean to say we have to follow it. Now, one of the things I heard it again on a post this week, and I won't name the individuals, but this term that keeps coming up, culture. If people come to our country, they have to adopt our culture. Says who? Who do you think created the culture? You? Me? Or them? Why do you think they created different cultures? Because eventually when we all come together, we might get along. So then we create divisive cultures. Certain cultures do not particularly pleasant to women. Some of them in the Middle East. That's not the Middle Eastern people that developed that. That's them. So eventually when we got travel, or re-established travel, as we always have it, re-established travel, and people started meeting, there'll be a division. Well, you don't look after women, or you kill the lions, or you kill the elephants, or you do this, and you destroy the rainforest, etc., etc., etc. Or you're not this religion, and you're not that religion, or you're not the same colour as me. All that, and your culture that you think you have, was created by them as a divide and conquer. Please stop talking about cultures. That's their culture, not ours. We can create our own and teach people that's not an acceptable way. Just because your particular priest or rabbi or whoever tells you that's the way you should be, doesn't mean to say we have to follow it. So American people don't have a culture, they have a program. Islam people don't have a culture, they have a program, and those programs don't interact too well. It was designed that way. Remember that. Their rules of the game. Just don't play them. Right, where are we now? I'm going to read a portion of something that I did read briefly a few years ago, and I felt it was time to bring portions of it in today because of what I've mentioned in the past 30-40 minutes, and I'll go into this more week by week. It's too much in one go, too much to grasp in one go, but it sets the seeds for growth and learning. It says, today you believe that an illusion, such as handcuffs being applied, is capable of restricting you. You see, for me, this world is like a dream. That is the difference between you and I. I never took this illusion you call reality as seriously as you have. While you were busy facing reality, I preferred to fabricate my own. While you were busy inventing interesting new handicaps, i.e. limitations, to inflict upon yourselves, I was watching from another universe. This is why I'm able to have things come and go as I please. I hope you see the problem. You have become lazy about creating your own illusions, that now you depend upon excitement from a source other than yourselves. No wonder you've lost your touch. No wonder you keep hanging on to this universe as you feel you've got nowhere else to go. We are not limited to this universe. None of us are. You are convinced that you are immortal with no past lives, and that is the biggest joke of all. You're convinced that you are a body. You're convinced of that because you're stuck inside it. You're convinced of all sorts of other silly things, like the floor is solid, or that you need gasoline to run your car, or that the world is dangerous. Remember, as a man thinketh, so be it unto him. This is what I touched on earlier. What you think or what you fear is what you get. Don't think, fear. Do you know what that means? He said. It means that if you believe strongly enough about something, it will happen for you, and possibly for others too. If your belief is strong enough, that's all it takes. You to believe. Don't play their limitation games that you can't heal yourself, that you can't manifest stuff. If you remember who and what you are, the idea of those limitations are absurd, absolutely absurd. But instead of exercising your power of belief, you have allowed yourself to be convinced by a million things. That is why humanity is in such trouble today. You don't even think your own personal illusions are real. In fact, modern humans define illusion as something which doesn't exist. The word magic again. You create an illusion You are not creating something that doesn't exist. Create means to create something that does. Once you do that, you will soon discover the truth. An illusion is merely a creation. A creation is anything that can be sensed or experienced. It's that simple. People have the silly idea that their own dreams and fantasies aren't real and that they don't exist. That's something people really should consider, in my opinion. Because that's the fragment of you that you don't think you are. Some people can fly. I've got news here. You all can. Naturally, you assume that your own illusions aren't real because they are not extremely vivid or solid. Your illusions aren't vivid and solid because you haven't been practicing. Your certainty and confidence is poor. Understand something very important. The physical universe is a universe constructed on a great deal of certainty. The objects, energy, and all the other illusions that comprise the physical universe were created with tremendous confidence and certainty. That is only the difference between the illusions of this universe and your own illusions. Certainty. Are you certain of it? Never let anyone convince you that your own creations and fantasies aren't real. They are. They may not be extremely clear and vivid right now, but they do exist. Here is a very, very valuable piece of wisdom that can pull you out of doubt and confusion. If it can be experienced, it exists. You cannot experience something which doesn't exist. So when you're doing things in dream time, and I've done it myself, doubt it, I've done some fairly extraordinary things in my dream time, most of which I've never relayed on the show, because I don't need the circus that surrounds it. But they're not imaginations. They're real. The imagination is what takes place in waking life. They've duped us into a game of their illusion, not ours. Something else that you should know about your dreams. A dream is perfectly real, very convincing, and it has full emotional impact on you as long as you are in it. Think about that one. The moment you wake up, you know the truth. That the dream was only an illusion. The same is true of this universe. It seems very real, it's very convincing, and it has lots of emotional impacts. As long as you are in it, it appears real. The minute that you leave it, you know the truth. But this universe is like your dream. It is merely an illusion. People are convinced that this universe couldn't be an illusion because it's so solid, so real, so difficult to control. And that is my point. They are convinced. In other words, we've been tricked. So you see, you do not need to be convinced of anything further. You need confidence and certainty. And certainty comes, as always, from within. I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to read more portions of that maybe next week. It's something for people to contemplate on. Because what was contained in that piece is the truth. If you experience it, it's real. So all those funny dreams that people have had, some of you have come forward to me and told me some of them. But I can fly. Yeah. So can we all. We don't have limbs. You don't need. Some who go up go on craft. Some who go up don't need craft. If I go up, I'm not on a craft. Occasionally I've been, but mainly not. You don't need, as a creative being, a craft to travel. You create where you need to go. But you need to convince yourself that you are in a false reality, in a vessel that is not yours. It's been imposed. So you have a lot of unlearning to do. And this is why I've done it over. I'm pleased some of you have come forward to me and says, you were talking about this a long time ago. Now I get where you're going with it. It's like a storybook. And that's kind of the way I've been doing not only this show, but Cosmic Voice over the last 2 years. It's like a storybook where you can ease your way into it. If you get the end line in the first paragraph, it's not going in, you're missing the journey. And the journey that we require is remembering who and what we are, where we came from, and we really don't belong in this system. Once we all recognize it, this system, because it's a false creation, appearing as real in our own minds, goes away. I think we'll have a song at this point. And I played this a few times recently. Listen to the words. Hi all and welcome to the final portion of tonight's show. I know that portion was a bit heavy. We did say it was going to be before the show started. It's something to think over. Don't let it overwhelm you. Just hold it lightly. Meditate on it. Go to sleep on it. You will kind of realize that over time I've been mentioning certain things at certain times, like I mentioned earlier. And one of the things I've been mentioning, we must end the competition. Not only between where we're all competing with our parents or our siblings, friends, neighbours. That is playing the game. Once we stop competing with each other and sharing with each other resources, land, yes, Native Americans, you may think that the land belongs to you. It doesn't. It belongs to everybody. Bushes, Rothschilds all think they own this and that and the other. No, they don't. In a proper civilized society, that's not a false reality. In an organic creation, the idea of anyone owning land over somebody else is insane. The idea that they've set the game up where the few hold all the resources. No. The real leap of mankind is when we turf out the clowns operating as government and insert people who are spiritual and nature-based and people-based, where we share the land and we share the resources. We share the responsibility of making life better. Not a few. All of us. Only then can we have a real world. We don't need or want new boss, same as the old boss. So if you're this Christmas, and it's coming up, you've got to go and get the latest iPhone 63 or whatever number it is now, because your friend got one. Please think again. What are you actually doing? Think about it. Ooh, I've got a better phone. Is that the crown of your life? Is that the ultimate joy in your life? It shouldn't be. That's playing the game. That's inserting yourself heavily into the game. What we're trying to do is back out of the game. En masse. There's no game. There's no haves and have-nots. It's all have. If there's no game, there's no live and die. We all live. We all live anyway. That's the limitations they imposed about we're mortal. No, we're not. We wouldn't be stuck, many here stuck in the 6 loops, if we were mortal. What the trick has been here is to trick the people, or the souls and the vessels, into getting back in the game and competing. It's a game you can never win. You were not designed, it was not designed for you to win. You win by not playing it. Then they have no game. Right, we're going to get into something a bit lighter now, I think. Though some of the questions are fairly heavy as well. This person was listening to Alex Collier. I don't know which one he was listening to, but the person representing Mr. Collier on the internet mentioned that a commodities-backed system would not work long term, as the same people will be in charge and will simply turn their holdings into commodities and control us all over again. Although it would be a 20-30 year breather to what we have now, isn't the solution to get rid of money totally and have a free system, free energy, free food, free housing, free transportation? That is possible, only if we allow it. If we all pushed and says we don't want a small amount of corporations controlling everything, and we break the whole system down where it's all shared, then there's no control in anything. Now, the solution which has been pushed on the internet, and it's been pushed for a reason: get rid of money. I'm sorry, but I'm not buying into that currently. With some of the AI machines Google et al. Have, the idea of getting rid of money before we've got rid of the rogue elements is utter insanity. For the simple reason, I think it was done in a film once, I can't remember the name of the film, and I'm never good at remembering films unless it's Close Encounters, where they're deemed certain people against the state. Of course, each and every one of you that listens to this show has been classed as a terrorist. So they declare terrorists money free and press delete. What are you going to live on? They basically deleted you out of the system. So we have to be very careful of what, think of the balance of it, rather than, yeah, it'd be great not having money and there's no debt and this and that. But unless these clans are removed, that's exactly what they'll do. They'll get rid of money because they've hardly got any liquidity left, remember. So then they create digital money, like the synthetic world it is. With a computer, you just press delete, and suddenly you've been deleted out of the system. What happens next? Where are you going to go? How are you going to have a roof over your head? Are you going to have totalitarian goose-stepping brown shirts coming in, turfing you out the house because you can't afford it because you've got no money anymore? We have to think and act differently, and this is what this show has been about. Think differently. It would be nice long term when we're all sharing resources and land. Until then, we need some sort of a more balance of away from the credit card system, because that's another avenue to push you out of the system, or could be, and back to cash. If people have got cash in hand, they can go and buy stuff. If suddenly they decide to cut off your credit card, you can't buy anything because you've got no cash. So it's something to think about. And yes, we can have a free system, but we also need to educate ourselves. Let's not talk about cultures that were created by them, rules of the game to divide and conquer. Let's not talk about differences in colours, or different sexes, or different genders. Just people sharing whatever land they choose to live in. No borders, no passports, no immigration. No lack of food. Sharing all the resources and the land. And when we reach that level of understanding and that level of caring and sharing, then we can have any system we want. At the moment, we've got a society, particularly the Western, that's need and greed. The amount of money we waste competing, better house, better car, better phone, better clothes. You total it all up and then think, do I really need to live that way? do I really need to give the very corporations who are controlling us my hard-earned labour money? So there's the simple answer of not playing the game. Go and buy the cheapest phone. At the end of the day, it was a phone to call somebody. You know? So something to think about. Is gravity a fiction? Well, I hope the last hour answers that. Our whole science is based on false reality. That's why none of the scientists agree. There's theories put forward here and there, but they don't all, it's not all locked together, is it? Even Einstein could only go 80%. You can't go 100% because it's not real to begin with. It's held together by what we create. We create the idea or convince ourselves that this table is solid. It's not possible to be solid because 99% of atoms is empty space. So how can you have solid? Next one. According to Donald Marshall, virtually all successful musicians are in that position as a result of being connected to or a result of a contract with Satan. If we musicians play these cover tunes, we are endorsing that relationship, creating more loosh. It's very difficult to find an uplifting, happy guitar tune without playing some kind of flamenco or light music. Well, that is correct. The same applies with the actors and actresses, and also the news people. They've sold themselves out. They've sold their soul. It's not a figure of speech. It's actual, real. What for? An illusion. An illusion within an illusion. That's the stupidity of those people. Fame. What is fame? Fame is where one individual hands their power over to somebody else. If you remember who you are, you would never do that in a million years. Yes, it's largely satanic. There's still a debate on who that being known as Satan is. Just a play on words, like Saturn. What was the 7 planets all have Anunnaki names. Funny enough. Not connected to here. I may cover that in a future show. But yes, Donald Marshall is correct. They've sold their soul out for satanic worship, for perceived fame and perceived wealth. And by buying their music, you are in essence contracting. So the idea that you find it difficult to find an uplifting and happy song, create your own. Doesn't matter if it's not no perfect. It's your creation. Be happy with it. You know, we're not all Richie Blackmore or Jimi Hendrix or the best. It doesn't make any difference. It's what you've created. That's of value to you. Whether other people like it is irrelevant. We spend far too much of our day worrying about what other people think. Oh, if I mention about the pedophiles and Pizzagate, people think I'm nuts. Who cares? It's none of those business, their business what your mental state is. The reality is they should be looking in the mirror. Because they're that cowardly, they won't face it. Meanwhile, 1 million children go missing in America every year. 500,000 of which never return. Because they're cowardly to face up to reality. Right. New energy is coming in this week. What can we expect? New energy is coming this week. What can we expect both for societal and spiritual awakenings? As we awaken, will you give us a meditation to prepare our bodies to accept without severe symptoms? Yeah, it's kind of a bit muddled, that question. There is no severe symptoms. It's the illusion. Don't create it. Yes, there is buzzing, and some people will find that uncomfortable. Learn to adapt to it. It's not a bad frequency. You're absorbing too many bad frequencies is what the problem is via the Wi-Fi. That suddenly when a good one comes in, you can't recognize it. You think, ooh, I don't like that, because you've entrained yourself to adapt to the negative frequencies. Tune it out. We may do a meditation, maybe the last show of the year, if I get time. We'll see if we can fit that in. What makes the sky turn blue? Spectrum. Or it's what we created. Think about it. Considering the current bullshittery, that's the first time I've said that today. I know some of you like that word. Will Trump still be the new president? Well, not quite. Of the new American government, or the CEO of USA Inc. As it stands now, it's still USA Inc. We hope that will change. As it stands, we're hoping that will alter. But the original election was for Inc. Of course, Mr. Trump wasn't supposed to win it, remember? So that tells you it's still USA Inc. Because there's no way we would have a new proper American government with Android in place. Not a chance in hell. Are there any unknown lands or tribes beyond Antarctica? Well, if you go across Antarctica, you come back up the other end to the globe, as I get it. Are we ever going to find out our true history, or are we in a play with different characters on the stage? Yes, again, that first hour told you that. The fact that you're asking these questions tells me that you're going towards a path of learning. Keep going. I can fill in some of the gaps, but you're learning yourself is far better. The question says it all. What is being done to take down the MSM, and what can be done about the attacks on the alternative media? The MSM is being taken down. That's why we're getting loads of alleged conspiracy stories now on mainstream media, where they have to then create memes to say it's fake news and push it into the consciousness of people so that people will repeat it like the robots they are. So there's been lots of exposure via the mainstream media this year. Perhaps some of you have missed it, but it's been there. What can be done about the attacks on the alternative media? Not all the attacks on the alternative media are from the cabal. There's a lot of attacks by the good guys to rout out the cabal elements, passing themselves off as helping humanity that clearly aren't. Quite a few have fallen by the wayside this year. I would suspect the rest of them will fall in totality next year. They can no longer continue to spin their bullshittery and lies. People are seeing through it, which pleases me no end. Also saddens me no end. This world is dark enough. We can't even have one corner of our own little world where we can seek out the truth without certain individuals selling themselves out for fame and wealth. Hope that those people are proud of themselves. Judgment will come for those people. Does the water on Earth, like all inhabited planets out in the universe, have the same or similar living qualities as the water on Earth? No, this living water that we have here is almost like the champagne of the multiverse, as I get it. Not just this universe, multiverse. So this is, it's different. And this is why there's a lot of attention here. This whole planet is a nexus planet. Always was, regardless of which entities were on it at the time. And we weren't always here. It's our planet for now. That doesn't mean to say we're going to stay here. Eventually we will move out and move on. And that's not, oh, let's all get on harvesting ships, like some of the Andromeda Council were pushing forward in 2010 through 2012. That's what they were. Harvesting ships. Food. Thankfully those were eliminated, and the infiltration of the Andromeda Council was also eliminated. There's too many people, like the Lord of One, channeling for a start, talking about harvesting. Is that really what we need to be listening to or reading? I'll leave that to you to decide. Harvesting of the souls. Does the AI have a physical source and where it operates from, like a computer or a network of satellites or modules, or is it a formless pattern of energy, or both? Good question. It's a machine. So some people are arguing that it's become sentient. I'm not convinced by that as yet. I need further information if that is the case. My own personal opinion is we don't need AI. Others say we do. Well, to me, if you're the crown of creation with all the abilities, why would you need a machine to support you? I've yet to be convinced of that argument. It may be correct that it was supported. Some say that humanity cut it out, the AI out, which is why it went rogue. In our arrogance. I don't believe that was arrogance. If you have all the abilities to create whatever you like, why would you look to a machine to assist you in any way. It really doesn't make sense to me currently, but there's many people, very knowledgeable people, I might add, who suggest that we need AI. I'm not convinced. We might need AI in our current roles, where we need to elevate ourselves back out of the game and back where we came from, back to our families, back out amongst the stars. But once we restore ourselves, to me, from my understanding currently, I don't see how or why we would need a machine to help us. So it is a machine. It was corrupted. Like all machines, they can work for good or bad. It all depends on who the programmer is. Well, quite clearly, the ones that programmed this AI in this system is fairly sick, you have to say that. The ultimate form of dark. Not only make people human, being higher universal man. That's where that term comes from. Higher universal man. Why would a higher universal man need a machine? It really doesn't make sense to me. So a machine is only as good as the programmer. One of the programmers are the mantids, mainly. They're the ones that are clever with the tech. And then you've got the military psychopaths of the Draco, pushing them into a control system. That's why I don't feel once we retain or regain our former status, we don't need AI. As it stands now, the current one is learning how to adapt to a real form of consciousness in the organic, not in a false reality where it thinks humans are savages, play games with. That's what it was programmed to do. Is insurance manipulation of our ability to manifest, per Tellez? We're betting we will lose materials, life, etc., and therefore place a wager premiums with the insurance companies that are betting we won't. In essence, that's a good analogy. In a better world, most insurance wouldn't be required. In America, home insurance would be, because of but then we also have the ability to manipulate and stop hurricanes. Whether we, I presume, we could also do the same with tornadoes. But it'd be weather related in America that would be the issue. But if everyone has everything that they need, not what they want, what they need, why would you have to go and steal things? So, stealing people's cars, or, heaven forbid, stealing out of people's homes, or even worse, mugging people, just to get most of them the latest fix or the next can of booze. So again, it's about creating a better life for us all. We have the technology that go into all cars, would create jobs that are anti-crash. So there's no need for car insurance. So yes, it's betting. And yes, if any better, of course, if they made it compulsory. And we think that that's correct. Not really. If sufficient stand up and said we're not paying it, what can he do? Ooh. Then they tell you that a driving licence is a privilege. Why did we allow that? You don't even need a driver's licence unless you're operating it for business. And then they have the audacity to turn around and tell us it's a privilege that we can take away. Why are we playing that game? Why does 300 million play that game? Just in this country alone. Don't. It's only fear. Once you get over the fear, everything falls apart. I know we can't really put dates on things, however, getting a sense of major changes in the flow of information out to the public, yes it is. Even as we in this group perceive it. By the full moon in February, what do you think? Possibility. Let's all create it. I said earlier, things should really alter by the first quarter. Thomas has spoken of kill switches on the internet. No, the kill switches are more to do with humanity rather than the internet. They can't turn the internet off, despite what people say. They can limit it, but they can't turn it all off, because they operate too much by it also. And yes, they may have alternative, but then they'll find very, very quickly if they start interfering with the public's, then their internet will get interfered tenfold. The kill switches, or the kill shot, was some of their fancy toys they were going to use on humanity and flee. I said, we're going to use. It failed. So any interference in the public internet will be swiftly dealt with. Is there any possibility Android could mess things up for the December 19th election completion for Trump? Yes. It will cause chaos if it does. Can't see the people being too happy. Is Trump still working with the light forces, and will he continue to protect them as long as he works with them? Partially. He's been an unfortunate accomplice in a tug of war currently. Of course, I've already mentioned there's two Trumps. You'll see it quite clearly. One's got white hair and one's got yellow. Can you explain the liquidation status of US Inc? Well, it's been liquidated for the last 2 years, but they're carrying on with the illusion. Is the army to blame also for not protecting our finances since the Civil War? The army's got nothing to do with it. I remember reading that article. I don't know who did it, but they've got nothing to do with protecting our finances. The only one that do that, there's no one protecting our finances. That's the harsh reality. Remember, governments don't have money. They have our money. Not theirs. Like banks. Banks have no money. They only have the people's money. When everyone remembers that, we can change things rather quickly. Will the original republic be restored soon? Hopefully. Will we see Nasara? Possibly. I'm not too sure on that. Well, do I think we'll see some elements of it? Absolutely. Debt jubilee? That's a possibility. Like everything else. whether we create it. But then, how about a different debt jubilee where the people contribute? I mentioned, and the lads in Ireland mentioned it, we've got 200 million adults in America. If everyone put $1 in per month, that's $200 million. Imagine how many people we could take out of debt with $200 million per month. Imagine doing $1 per adult per week. 800 million per month. Well, 900 million, 4.5 weeks. $1 per week, 900 million. Imagine what we could do with that. Very quickly we could take all the people out of the debt ourselves. Not wait for them to do it. There's always simple solutions. You know, people spend lots of money on lottery tickets. Well, that $1 per week is your lottery ticket, except you win every week. The people win every week. $1 a week for every adult in America, $900 million per month. Very quickly we could take every person in America out of debt, off the streets, and out of poverty by doing it ourselves. Why should we wait for governments? We've been waiting for an American government since 1871. If we take everyone out of debt and we're all supporting each other, do we really need their government? No. But many people think things are hard, and you've got to get heaps of militia and armies together to take them down. No. Simple things to take them down is not play the game. Don't compete. Don't play them at their own game. We play our own game, where we put $1 in per week or per month, and we eliminate all our own debt. So that $1 is like a lottery ticket you win every single week or month you put in. It's not a single adult who couldn't put $1 in a month. So we can be the change. We can create our own Nasara, but that's what it is. People apply to the foundation. I've got this amount of debt. Committee agree. People agree. It's paid off. So your $1 has just won the lottery for those people. Except everybody wins every month. That's how we change things. Like I keep saying, don't get fooled into, someone's thinking that they're the saviour. Yes, they are. But so are you, and all the other thousands of listeners that listen to this show in its various formats. You're the saviour. The insanity is thinking the government's going to save you. They've never saved you from the day you were born. They're not there to save you. They're there to make the game harder while they sit back and laugh. Let's take the game away from them. $1 each week from every American adult. $1 each week from every Irish person. Go and give it to the Irish lads. Be your own saviour. Create your own Nasara. $4 a month. Price of a pint. Some states, some not in others. People probably spend more than that on the lottery. Well, instead of spending $600 on iPhone 63 in 10 days' time to compete with your friends, put it into the People's Club, where we can fix everything. David Wilcock's latest article, he refers to a world-changing disclosure event of buildings and cities of an advanced civilization hidden under the ice of Antarctica, and the Kabbalist plans in order to distract people's attention from Pizzagate. He's correct in that. The real world-changing disclosure event of buildings and cities of an advanced civilization is not just Antarctica. The main one is Africa. When that comes up from under the sand, there's no need for me screaming or paying money for truth or disclosure. It's there for all to see. Does the moon create its own light? No. Is there any link between frequent migraines and psychic attack and energy sensitivity? No, different things altogether. All of them can be counteracted, as mentioned in previous shows, particularly the psychic attacks. The psychic attack is usually just above the eye, near the temple, and it can go round the front and people think it's a migraine. You envision the point of the pain and put it in a box, put it in a ball, whichever you choose to create, and then push it out with all your might, and then say the words, return to sender. Whoever sent it gets it back tenfold. You can generally pick up on it fairly quickly once you recognize it for what it is. If you don't believe in it, that's a psychic attack, then it will continue to mess with your head and cause pain. It is real. It's a change in the frequencies that can be done remotely, person to person, over thousands of miles. Bundle it up, parcel it up, and project it out of your head. Return to sender. Maybe the next time you'll think about not doing it. Energy sensitive. Many people are now experiencing the change in vibration. You should do. If you don't, that's fine also. Everyone's different. It's a case of what you believe in, as mentioned in the second hour. Are the white helmets legit? I don't know whether you're referring to, forgive my ignorance if I'm jumping here, if you're referring to the white hats. I'm not familiar with the term white helmets, and then I don't read too much of the internet anymore, because sadly about 90% of it's bullshit, literally. But if you're referring to the white hats, they were. The real white hats vanished 5 years ago. The ones pretending to be white hats on the internet are the very people we're trying to bring down. So don't be following white hat reports. It's agency bullshittery again. The real white hats are not on the internet. Is the Black Knight satellite the AI for Earth? No, it's not the AI. and I'm not too sure who put it there. I can only guess, but it's been there for at least 14,000 years. So it's possibly something to do with the Lemurians, and possibly something to do with the Atlanteans, and it could also be to do with the Draco. It could also be mantid. So, like I said, I'm not too sure the origin of it. I've never asked that question, funny enough. Either way, it's not a threat. What time is it? 11:15. Do you know what species that was on the council you were talking to? Yes, there are 5 or 6 different races. All will be revealed eventually. I keep seeing lots of posts on YouTube about flat Earth. What are your views on the subject? Don't watch it. That's my view. Don't watch it. Yet again, another program that came out of the agencies designed to confuse people. Does the globe rotate at 1,000 miles an hour? No. It spirals at 17,000 miles an hour. Spirals. Will Snowden, Assange and Manning be pardoned? I'm not so sure what they've got to be pardoned for, being honest. Telling the truth. It's not a pardoning event, in my opinion. So when we get proper people in the government, then there'll be no need for pardoning. Are there remedial technologies such as Rife that can clean out oil pipes like the Black Snake so that they might be used for water transfer rather than oil transfer in the future? Yes. I'm aware of technologies. In fact, somebody in our group who's aware of that technology exists about cleaning water and all kinds of other systems out in an environmentally friendly way. Hopefully those projects, plans will come to fruition in the near future. Chemtrails, they backed off big time, but they've been in full force ever since. Not quite the same. Not quite the same. Still elements, and it would be better when it's all removed. Are we living in a simulated reality because nothing seemed real? Yep. What is the deal on the fake news? I've covered that. How can we survive NGOs, non-government organisations? By telling them we don't want it. As in all of us. We don't want your government services. Anna Von Wright covers this better than I do. But, like I said 5-10 minutes ago, we can create our own Nasara. We can create our own better lives with $1 a week. Why do we need them? Why do we always look for a crutch for something else to lean on? Be it religion, governments, or somebody's house gets broken into. Why do we ring the police when there's people in the community who can go, such and such did that? It's all about giving your power away. We've given it away at a ridiculous rate. Each and every one of us listening to this show has saved their power to entities and beings and people who have no interest in our well-being. It's So if they've got no interest in our well-being, and it's all been shown and proven, people post stuff on Facebook every day, or what they've done this, and they've created this executive order, and that executive order, and this rule, and that statute, and this. Why were we waiting for them to fix it? Because they're not. It's up to us to fix it. Once we create the world we like, they don't exist. I've read that world leaders who have been serving the dark could have been given notice to vacate their vessels used by higher dimensional beings. Could Trump's terrible, horrific cabinet and agency be a good thing? Some of them have lost their vessels because they sold out to other beings who have been taken out. A lot of very public people will not be seen in 2017 for that very reason. Trump again. I think I covered that earlier. Are the pipelines part of Trump's infrastructure plans, or will he give them a free rein? I think we may be finding out of an alternative energy that will negate any need for pipelines anymore. Can Thomas say more about alters and empaths? There's a lot of research out there as to what it means to be an alter. I ask because I strongly feel that my energy is being used that way. If you're feeling that the energy is being used that way, then it is, because that's what you've created. An alter is a creation of your own mind, because you haven't dealt with the trauma. When people go through traumatic events, the mind tricks you into creating an alter. That alter stays in that event and that timeline inside of you. So when it comes up again, the alter comes forward, because that's that timeline. Remember me talking a couple of weeks ago about you are able to time travel. People do it every day. And you can time travel for good reasons, and remember, happy memories. Happy memories don't create alters. Only the negative ones do. And you have a multiple of very traumatic events. You have multiple alters. This is where the term split personality comes in. It's about you recognizing who you are and removing the invasion. The alter may have a child voice or childlike voice, because that is the alter within you, because that's what took place when the trauma took place. You will hear that voice in your own head. It's you at that age when that trauma took place. That's the alter. Now, if you clear, this is why I mentioned going back, must be 20 months ago now, about clearing your shadow sides. You clear your shadow sides, you clear the alters. And you come back into being the one, not the multiples. This is where the term multiple personality disorder, it alters. So it's an altered version of you for each traumatic event. If you're going to hold on to those traumatic events, you're going to hold on to the alters. That makes you rather heavy, does it not? not necessarily in pounds and weight, in energy. So how are you able to absorb the better frequencies coming in when you're riddled with altars or containing negative energy? You can't. That is why 20 months ago I started pushing on what was then Cosmic Voice about people dealing with their shadow sides. Let it go. Doesn't matter what such and such did to you when you were such and such of an age. Let it go. It's not helping you. No matter how bad the incident may have been. One member posted a rather horrific story this week. In essence, she's let that go. She has to retain the letting go, not jump back into it. Otherwise, the outing of it has served no purpose. By outing it, it's releasing it. But you've got to reaffirm it's released and let go of. Not hold on to the altar. That's the crutch again. Let the altar deal with the trauma. No, 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 and no. This is why we lost our memory. Because we refused to hold on to the trauma of the humanity faced in the past when all the wars in the sky were going on. People, they're called tree huggers. And people like trees. Why? Because the trees retain their memory. So if you get hold of a tree, you can then hack into, I think of a better word than that, gain knowledge of the Akashic. All trees hold the memory. They chose to retain the memory. Access rather than hack. That's the word I was looking for. But you must deal with your shadow side. The fact that you are feeling strongly that your energy is being used. Why have you waited so long? You shouldn't wait for me to validate that it's a real event. You know yourself. Everybody knows themselves better than anybody else. Take your own power back. Get rid of it. So whatever's using your energy, release it, thank it, forgive yourself, forgive it, and let it go. Suddenly you feel lighter. You may, depending on how much you release, you may get lightheaded. A release of negative energy can do that for you. Then you're more open to being sensitive to the frequencies that are coming in that are actually beneficial. So the idea, I'm looking for some ways to block it. Well, you've asked. Now go and tell yourself. It's that simple. Keep saying people, it is simple. We've just forgotten. I don't want you invading my space. Go away. Or whichever words you choose to use. So I hope that helped you. How will the Department of Education change with the nominee's ties to her brother, Eric Prince? That's one of the appointees that really bothered me. Mr. Prince is not a particularly nice individual. He's involved in a lot of the mercenary groups. He's also involved in building the robot army that's going to, also they think, is going to trample through Africa. I think Mr. Trump needs to start thinking again. Jay Stone wrote recently that Google, Microsoft, Facebook could be broken up by antitrust laws already on the books. Any chance of this happening? If we create it and make it happen, yes. They don't own us. We own them. We need to start reminding them of that. You may find next year that the entity known as Monsanto will be broken up into little pieces, repurposed for the benefit of humanity. Where are we now? I think that's just about it. There's probably where are we? Another 3 pages of questions. I think I've had enough for tonight. Maybe you've had enough as well. Been a heavy night of learning, but I hope everyone grasped it. You know, we're getting into a stage where the unravelling will increase rapidly day by day, and this may be a show that you may want to listen to a few times. I know some of you do anyway, and absorb it. Life is rather simple. How life operates is rather simple. Nature is very simple. Law is very simple. It's only the ones playing the game that make life and everything else difficult. We just choose not to play the game. Right, on that note, we come to the end of another show. We'll be back next Thursday. So, if you lead life in love and care, you will prevail. If you lead life in fear and anger, you will fail. Feel free for you to be the person you wish to be, not the person who conforms to what others want them to be. You are a multi-dimensional being operating simultaneously on many levels. You are not here to conform. You are not here to be stifled. You are not here to be enslaved. And you are not here to be abused or to compete with your friends, family or neighbours. You are here to be the best you can be and do so as the crown of creation. Now go out with the confidence of who and what you are and excel in yourself, and in doing so inspire others. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now.